with sovereign citizens either. I do not with sovereign citizens. I don't with sovereign citizens because the sovereign citizens jump around from law form to law form to law form, and then they mix shit. And then they act belligerent. They act like they live above the law. Listen, I don't fuck with nobody who live above the law. I don't fuck with nobody who live below the law. If you don't live by some type of law or code, you not my type of person. Stay far away from me. I consider you one of the worst people on the planet. I don't know what you're capable of. I don't want no parts of it. And that's how I think about sovereign citizens. And that's how other people think about it too. Now, people might look at me and what I do and think that I'm a sovereign citizen, but I'll correct your ass so fast before you even blink, because I don't live above the law. I'm not the type of person that's trying to separate from the United States. I don't denounce my citizenship or whatever. Like, no, I just understand jurisdiction, which most people don't, because it's invincible and it just takes time. Sovereign citizens, they fail because, one, they're belligerent. If you're belligerent, then you're considered an enemy or a neutral or a friend of an enemy, any of those things. And if that's the case, then you can never receive remedy. You also can't litigate. You can't do any of that. And that's why they continue to be taken to jail, continue to get into all types of bad things, right? You gotta think about it. You watch the movies, or you might even know people in the gang, used to be in the gang, or whatever the case may be, right? I live my life by natural law, by the Constitution. No, that's how I live my life. You might live your life by, like police, they live by code, or you know, criminals, they live by code, right? Like, everybody lives by something. If you consider criminals the worst people on the planet or whatever, they still live by code. It might not be a code that's favorable to you, but they still live by code. So to think about it, sovereign citizens are people that don't live by no code, no law, no nothing. Belligerent, running wild. I don't fuck with that. I don't like that. I ain't with that. I don't feel comfortable around them. There's a different side to it though, because I do understand them. They're trying to figure it out. And they know that their rights come from a higher power. They feel in their soul that this shit isn't right, the system isn't right. They're furious about this. They want to do something about it. I get it. You just can't act belligerent. You just can't. You have to understand how to conduct yourself. I like to tell people all the time, once you understand your rights, you gotta understand something. The moment you understand who you are under the Constitution, you understand your rights, this is the moment you start doing high-level business. You wanna start talking millionaire, billionaire status? Like, I don't care what nobody say. People might talk shit when they hear this. You're doing high-level business. Because you gotta understand the true value of these promissory notes and stuff when they get traded, you know, for years and stuff. Like, it can end up being millions, billions, trillions, a number you can't even pronounce. So we doing high-level business. And if you're doing high-level business, no way you can be belligerent and say, you know, just start talking crazy, cussing people out and all that. Think about it. If you go into a room with Elon Musk and you get to talking crazy like that, he's not trying to hear none of that. He's not trying to hear none of that. No, conduct yourself properly. Control your emotions. And that's gonna help you throughout life in every aspect of your life. But that's how we gotta start thinking. And sovereign citizens, they fail right there. The moment you act belligerent, you are deemed an enemy. You're not a friend of the court. You want to be a friend of the court because that's where you receive grace. That's where you actually receive remedy. It's a treacherous game out here, but ultimately, you need to find someone, if not me, that involves themselves in exclusive equity and trust law, and takes us time to really break down the Constitution and understand it the proper way. Because otherwise you'll continue running in the cycle and feeling like, oh, the courts or the judges, they're breaking the law. The courts, they don't know shit. They're not following their own rules and yada, 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 right? That's a bad perspective to have. They have years in law. The perspective you should have is, what did you do wrong? That's why I ask myself, what did I do wrong here? Let me go back through my paperwork. Let me see what defects. Let me see where I may have messed up and where I could do things differently. Because the reality is, we didn't grow up on this. We're not going to school for this. We're just learning. We're reading the books and interpreting. They went to school. They understand a hell of a lot more than we do. So I'm not going to be belligerent and get mad at them. I'm going to check myself. That's what I'm going to do so that I can be better, be on my P's and Q's, right? Dot my I's, cross my T's. That's my approach. That's my perspective. And unfortunately, sovereign citizens, they just don't share that same sentiment. It's very unfortunate. Another reason why sovereign citizens fail is because, like I said, they jump from law form to law form, and what happens is they commingle public and private rights, which then defaults them to just public rights. And that's not where you want to be. You can't commingle rights, public and private. Then they just we like to call it just throwing mud at the wall and seeing what sticks. That's how sovereign citizens do. You know, them people that just file a bunch of paperwork, will file this, and this, and this, and this. Like, it's like they file like 20 different affidavits and shit like that. Those are sovereign citizens. Paper warriors is what we like to call them. Those are the type of, and this is a hard truth, right? But I'm just gonna call it out. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. They don't. You're considered a sovereign citizen. But again, I get it, but nobody's telling you this. Nobody's keeping it real with you, and I'm going to, whether you like me or not. Take the time to stick with what. I'll give you an example. The people in the consumer law community that's working on the credit and all that. You want to know why they have so much success? Matter of fact, shout out to them. Even though it's on the public side, shout out to them. I respect them so much. You want to know why? It's because they don't get into different jurisdictions, different law forms, and commingle shit. Consumer law, they stick with the consumer law. Their arbitration, they stick with the arbitration. Like, that's what they don't get to commingling shit and principles and stuff. This is why they have so much success. This is why they have more success than sovereign citizens. That's why I commend them. But this is also why Matisse Academy has had the success that it has had. It's because we stick with exclusive equity jurisprudence that governs trust law, your core private rights, which is the tippy top of the law. There's nothing greater than the things that I educate you on. There's no law that's greater. There's nothing above what I educate you on. There's no law that's higher on these American land. So what you should do, instead of acting belligerent, instead of acting like a sovereign citizen, like you're above the law and getting locked up, what you should do is take 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes at the night, and study exclusive equity and trust law. This is how, if you do this at least 5 days a week, this is how you're gonna be able to get better 1% a day. We're talking compound interest, compound effort. This is gonna add up to hundreds of hours of study time by the end of the year. It's not thousands. Meanwhile, other people out there that's clubbing, doing a podcast, relationship, 50-50 conversations, all this and all that don't know shit about their rights. You're actually doing something that will change your future, your children's future, your family's future. You're making a literal investment in you and your family's future. That's what matters, your legacy. Exclusive equity is a special branch of law under Article 3 judicial power of the United States Constitution. This is where you want to focus your time. Abatements, equitable subrogation, trust law. We can go on and on, but we'll get to that. So listen, we got a class coming up. Typically they're on Thursdays and Sundays. Not every Thursday and Sunday, but typically that's when they are. Go to matisseacademy.com. We're gonna bring it up on the screen for you. Yeah, and we're gonna put the link in the description. Make sure you show up to class. I mean, because I'm gonna keep it real with you and I'm gonna ask you, can you really afford not to know your rights when they tell you ignorance of the law is no excuse? You're expected to know the law every day that you walk out your front door. Hell, with the way police be kicking in doors, you need to know it inside your house too. Can you really afford to continue life going through the same cycle, waiting till adversity strikes? Then you wanna know your law? Look, adversity strike, you be like, I know my rights, you can't do this, you can't, I'm gonna sue you. Shut up, you're not gonna do shit. Because you don't know what you can do. You don't know what's possible. You don't know what's possible. This is why we have the class on Thursdays and Sundays, so that you can actually take back your power, experience that that feeling that God wanted you to have. God knew that you were born behind enemy lines. You were born into this world. That's why God granted you power. You haven't been using it because you didn't know it exists and you don't know nothing about it. But I want to change that for you. Make sure you register, you come to class. I'd love to see you, and we're going to get to it.